Week 5 of the NFL season is in the books, and while Dallas and Buffalo fans may be very disappointed this morning, we aren't, because we have deep waivers for you. As always, we are going to use a 50% rostership number in Sleeper, and as always, we're going to cheat on that number. So we have several waivers here for you today for deep leagues, mainly, ideally dynasty, superflex type leagues, and so let's run through it real quick. First off is Gardner Minshew for Indianapolis, and he is only 39% sleeper rostered, surprisingly, despite we've seen multiple injuries knocking Anthony Richardson out of games, and the latest looks like an AC injury to his shoulder that should keep him out. I think expectations currently are around a month. Minshew has shown his ability to be an effective, efficient quarterback for the Colts and has led them to 2 victories so far. And so they are probably comfortable with him operating their full complement of offense. And we've seen that he's been a particular boon to Michael Pittman Jr., but expect Minshew to be more of a deep end, back end quarterback 2 type play, as opposed to a weekly starter or a consideration in one quarterback leagues. Next up, we saw Chicago's backfield decimated on Thursday Night Football, and so that leaves Dant Foreman as the last man standing. Foreman is 50% sleeper roster, 57% sleeper rostered, and so this gives you an opportunity at least for a potential weekly spot start. Khalil Herbert's injury is right now expected to keep him out for several weeks. And so this gives Foreman an opportunity to claim a role there, while Roschon Johnson should only be 1 week or so with the concussion. So expect Roschon Johnson to come in and be that guy after this week. But right now you need to grab Foreman with buys on the horizon and here right now and get that weekly start from Foreman. Next up is Arizona running back Imari De Mardo. He's 28% sleeper rostered. We've seen a trend from the early season where Arizona started with a running back group that looked like it was mainly James Conner with just kind of a little bit of Ingram sprinkled in. Ingram was injured, and De Mardo has had the opportunity to step forward, and he's done pretty well in that role. Last week, he trended towards being their 3rd down back, and an injury to James Conner's ribs has created an opportunity where De Mardo can really carve out a role and run with it. He was a backup to Kendre Miller at TCU last year, but showing his ability for big play potential and the ability for passing game utility. And so this is an opportunity, maybe just a spot start, but moving forward, De Mardo could be a little bit more than that, and especially moving into the future as Arizona looks for potential options long term. We got 2 Dolphins running backs. So Chris Brooks is sitting at 50% sleeper rostered, and Salvon Ahmed are 2 considerations that you need to target in your leagues, mainly because of the injury. We saw Devin Achane, no matter how great he's been, he had a high ankle injury this past week. And so we're kind of monitoring that. Hopefully he won't miss any time. But we know the health for Raheem Mostert, and now Achane potentially has an injury. The Miami backfield is one that you just need to grab pieces of and have moving forward. And Brooks and Ahmed give you the best opportunity for that. Jeff Wilson Jr. should be back at some point soon. And so that kind of creates just a muddled mess if any of those top 2 backs were to miss time. But again, this value is so much in this backfield that in deep leagues, you can't leave Brooks and Ahmed sitting out there. You have to claim them because there is the potential that they could be league winners down the stretch, given the ceiling in Miami's offense. Now, Eric Gray is another cheat. He's 57% sleeper rostered. Saquon Barkley should be back in week 6, hopefully, but we saw a little bit of a break in this past game where Gray had kind of sat behind Matt Breida and Gary Brightwell. Brightwell missed this past game, and that gave Gray an opportunity to really step forward as that secondary back. Now, looking forward, the Giants probably are entering the phase where they need to be realistic about where the season is going to go. And hopefully that means Gray moves above Breida for dynasty, for deep league purposes, because there's a little bit of a bigger skill set there, despite the experience that Breida does bring to the position. If Gray moves into that role, if Saquon Barkley were to miss time in the future, Gray becomes another one that, despite the lower ceiling in a Giants offense that has struggled, his 3-down skill set could open up opportunity to be, again, a league shifter. Now, we saw the Cincinnati wide receivers take T. Higgins miss this game. And last week we highlighted the rookies, Charlie Jones, who is actually on IR, and Andre Eusebius. But it's really Trenton Irwin that steps up if Higgins or Jamar Chase were to miss any time. And Irwin gives you an opportunity. He's really just a spot start, but a lot of the conversation belief is that when one of those guys is out, Tyler Boyd becomes a must play. Boyd's production doesn't really change much when either of those guys miss time. What we do see is either Higgins or Chase, whoever is in the lineup, becomes hyper targeted, increasing their production. And we saw a huge outcome from Jamar Chase this week. And then Trenton Irwin gets a little bit of involvement as well. He had 10 targets this week, caught 8 balls. And so that enters a back end deeply consideration. If Higgins' injury were to linger, I knew he was very close to going this week, or if Jamar Chase were to go down, Irwin might be that guy to target as opposed to going out and giving up a draft pick for Tyler Boyd, who kind of looks stuck in his current role. Lastly, injuries are always the consideration when it comes to deep league roster moves, and we're monitoring Daniel Jones' injury to his neck. The Giants are optimistic that he won't miss any time with this injury, but we've seen Daniel Jones have a neck issue in the past, and so if they move towards the side of caution, Tyrod Taylor at 7% sleeper rostered would be a consideration for deep leagues, for super flex leagues. Again, this Giants offense struggled just like we talked about previously, but Taylor's rushing floor brings opportunity where he can get involved as that low-end quarterback too, and with buys on the horizon right now, that gives you a chance to get you through a couple weeks. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure to like and subscribe to all of Football Guys content on our YouTube. Check out footballguys.com. And as always, good luck.